Good morning, brothers and sisters of humanity. Fellow earth dwellers, my name is Windflame. It's an unusual name. It came from a spiritual experience. It's not my birth name from my parents, but it's a rebirth name, you could say, from the divine. Excuse me if I get a little bit emotional. That's just how it is sometimes, and I'm doing something that I've been wanting to do for a long time. And that is to share something with you that I found very valuable in my life. It's a book, and it's by the author Colin Thiele, a man of true vision and true wisdom. I picked this book in book club in grade 1, and it seemed to help me to be aware of the planet and have a real passion for animals, plants, life, Mother Earth. Our mother that feeds us, clothes us, waters us, takes care of us in every level, gives us all sorts of spoilings and treats. We need to really start giving back because, as we know, we're in trouble. Dire Straits, great band, not a good place to be on a global scale. So we're all part of the big picture, we're all part of the whole, we all have a part to play. It's my world, it's your world, it's our world. The world is in my hands, the world is in your hands, the world is in our hands. So I don't want to get carried away because I do that sometimes because I'm a bit of a talker. But I want to get to the point, which is the book. So please allow me to share this with you, and I hope that you enjoy it. And at the end of the day, we all are part of the whole, as I was saying. Your part to play is to do what makes your heart sing, because that's what makes creation happy. That way you'll be happy. We can't have world peace till we all have inner peace. We can't have inner peace till we know who we are and honour our truth and honour ourselves. And what we put out comes back, so feed your soul with kindness in an outward motion, because it'll come back. Righto. The book is called The Sknuks by Colin Thiele, illustrated by Mary Milton. Thank you, Colin. Thank you, Mary. Thank you, universe. We shall begin. Once upon a planet, there were some creatures called sknuks. They had legs and arms and ears and an opening in the front of their heads. The sknuks were The planet where the sknuks lived was called Hatray. It was the loveliest planet of all, like a speck of gold in the sky. There were golden fields of wheat, and fruit trees with golden fruit, and gardens with golden flowers. There were forests of tall trees, and beautiful blue mountains, and rivers of sparkling water, and seas like a million mirrors. And there was green grass and bright sand and warm sunshine. The sknuks were very lucky. There were other creatures on the tray as well as the sknuks. There were birds with feathers as soft as down and as bright as rainbows. They sang in the mornings and they sang in the evenings and they sang all day long until the land overflowed with their singing. The sknuks should have been happy with companions like that. And there were tigers with coats of velvet and panthers with eyes like jewels. There were horses and whippets and antelopes that could arch and leap and run surer and swifter than sunlight. And there were eagles like gods in the sky. There were salmon in the rivers that bent their backs like boomerangs and flung themselves higher than waterfalls. There were undersea gardens of coral filled with fish that were arrows of fire. There were whales like moving islands, and tuna like steel blue bullets, and porpoises tumbling with fun. The sknuks should have been happy to share a tray with creatures like that. There were butterflies with wings of gold dust that were finer than the blue evening mist. Orchestras of insects that played in the fields and forests. Lizards with tongues that were darker than nighttime and with scales like plates of rock. Even worms that spun silk for the clothing of kings and queens. There were diamonds on the planet of Hatray. There were rubies like drops of wine and sapphires like chips of the sea and opals like flames of fire. And there was gold underground in nuggets that were bigger than melons, and silver that gleamed when it melted like beads of morning frost. and copper that ran from the cauldrons in rivers of shining sunlight. And there were caverns of coal as big as cathedrals, and hidden lakes of oil, and monstrous mountains of iron. Beautiful, beautiful planet of Atray. The sknuks should have been singing a happy song about it. Every day and every way, it's good to be living in a place like Atray. We're lucky at every pitch to be living on a planet so rare and rich. But the sknuks were not happy. They growled and grumbled and pillaged and plundered and squabbled and squandered. They eyed and they envied, grew frantic and frenzied. They coveted and craved and threatened and raved. They even stole from their neighbours and spied on their friends. But they were greedy. The sknuks built their burrows above the ground. They knocked down the trees and scraped out the soil until it was flat and bare. Then they poured out a barren grey paste called sknuk on the ground and built their burrows over it. There were 5 or 6 holes in every burrow. The sknuks lived in their burrows in small groups, and each group tried to have a better burrow than its neighbour. A father sknuk was called a nam, and a mother sknuk was called a namau. A common name for a little sknuk was Dick. The sknuks spread quickly. First there were thousands, then there were millions, then there were millions of millions. They knocked down the trees and plundered the soil and blocked up the rivers and streams. They dug out the coal and used up the oil and squandered the copper and iron. They built up their burrows till there were burrows on burrows and burrows on burrows on burrows, in clusters and clumps that were higher than mountains and wider than plains. They made millions of useless things to cram and clutter their burrows. They made things to keep for a week or a day, and then they threw them away. They made cardboard and plastic and paste and elastic to make packets and boxes, to put in boxes and packets. And then they threw them away. Nothing was fitter for a sknuk's way of life than to bury his house in rubbish and litter. The sknuks were possessive, sharp-toothed and aggressive. They shouted, "That's mine," or "Give up," or "I want it." They gathered in groups yelling, "Our land, not your land," and "Give it to us, or we'll soon make you see what happens to anyone who doesn't agree." They made weapons of war of the most hideous kind, to make others obey, or die, or go blind. But they were ruthless. They built factories for guns and explosives and bombs. They made chemical poisons and death rays and rockets. They freed fumes from their furnaces, smoke from their smokestacks, and liquids and gases from boilers and pipes. They even played games with the centres of atoms. It was like walking a cobra on a leash made of string. They were wasting the planet, wasting the planet, wasting the beautiful planet of Atray. Before long the rivers were putrid and the sparkling waters were ribbons of sludge. The fish gasped and died. The seas grew as thick as soup and sourer than slops. The water festered and rank weeds grew, and strange plants as big as bladders blocked the harbours and bays. The whales fell sick, and the porpoises died in the shallows. The air was ruined too. It was filled with filth and smudged with smog. The birds sat with gaping beaks and panting tongues. Even the sknuks themselves found it so hard to breathe that they wore masks and respirators whenever they went outside. The land became barren, the trees died and the crops failed, and food was scarce. Some of the sknuks were starving. Just then, some travellers from space came cruising by. "This was once the most beautiful planet of all," they said, "before the time of the sknuks, but just look at it now. We must go down and warn them and help them." The leader said, "We must warn them before it's too late." So the travellers went down to talk to the sknuks and to show them how the Atray could be saved. But the sknuks were not only greedy and ruthless, they were cruel and suspicious, mistrustful, malicious. "They're enemies," they yelled. "They cannot be trusted. Attack them! Attack them! Attack!" So they ran to get bombs and they ran to get rockets, and the travellers soared away into space. The leader was angry and he didn't mince words. Let them stew in their own sour brew. He barely glanced back at his own starry track. Of all creatures in space, these sknuks are the maddest that ever have lived since the whole world's birth. They're even much worse than the creatures who once spoiled the good planet Earth. The sknuks went back to their spoiling and fighting. They fought for the water that was not yet putrid, and they fought for the land that was not yet wasted. And in that way they ruined what was left. Where the wheat fields had nodded, there was only dust. Where the rich mines had been, there were just barren holes. Where the cities had towered, there were mounds on the ground. And so the sknuks made a wasteland of their home and slowly became extinct. For no one was ever able to get them to work together. Poor silly sknuks. Poor, poor planet of Hatray. Perhaps you are asking, did they really die out? Well, there is one small doubt. For some travellers from space one day thought they saw a little group of sknuks still living far away in a lonely valley. The leader went down to investigate and then sent back an excited message. In a steep mountain valley in a high mountain range sits an old snukish prophet who is half as old as time, teaching little sknuks around him of the urgent need to change, telling sad snuksy stories in a strange sort of rhyme, saying, "Learn and be speedy, not to make wars, not to be greedy and break natural laws. Listen and learn well every last day if you hope to survive on the good planet Hatray." So the leader of the spaceship decided to come back in 50 years' time to see what had happened. Everyone is waiting for his next message. What will it be? The end. But don't stop yet. The end. Now, I hope that you listened to the whole thing. I hope you enjoyed it. And as I was saying before, we all have a part to play. Doing what makes your heart sing is your way to give back and help the world become a better place. So you might not be able to do what makes your heart sing straight away, but you may need to work your way towards achieving that goal of your ultimate heart song. But that's okay. Success is in the journey, not the destination. So love, enjoy yourself. Look after yourself. Like we said before, the world is in my hands, the world is in your hands, the world is in our hands. Election times all over the world, a lot of stuff going on, lots of stuff going on. We need to get back to grounded reality, which is clean food, clean water, clean air. Without that, none of us will ever make it through anything. So we need to really focus on what's really meaningful in life, which is survival. Otherwise we're all doomed and that's it. So best of luck to all of us, and we're going to set up a Facebook page called Don't Be a Sknuk. If you'd like to make any comments, please do. If not, that's cool. I hope you enjoyed it. If not, sorry for wasting your time. Thank you for the opportunity, and take care and have a good day. Two up!